Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and today I am driving a 1999 Mitsubishi Toppo BJ. Up front is a 0.6 liter turbocharged inline 4, and down below is a 5-speed manual transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this Mitsubishi Toppo for two reasons. First of all, it's a right-hand drive K car, and I always enjoy driving these. But second of all, this is kind of the movement towards a modern K vehicle. In Japan, there was a classification of car, and still is, called K car, spelled K-E-I. And there are small micro cars in Japan that come with a lot of benefits for parking, for size, for usability, and even pricing. And that's what this is. Now, K cars have always been small, but Japan got smarter and smarter about them throughout the era, and that's kind of what this is. So let's take a look at the Toppo BJ. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 4-cylinder under the hood. Revs to 7,500. It's pretty fun. Now, the big talking point about what's under the hood is the fact that it is a 4-cylinder. So most K vehicles, because they are limited to a 660cc engine displacement, are 3-cylinders. Mitsubishi was actually able to build a 4-cylinder that fit within the requirements and was also used in like the Pajero Mini and a few other Mitsubishi products. So the big benefit is that it's a 20-valve engine that's 5 valves per cylinder, builds a little bit more torque, and just has a lot better drivability down low at slow speeds. You have a 4th person helping push the stone up the hill. That's what more cylinders does. So it makes this car a lot better to drive around town at slow speeds than possibly other ones. So already this is far and away better than a lot of other K cars that I've driven. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 5-speed manual transmission. Feels wonderful. The clutch is so feather light. It's insane. It doesn't even feel like it's connected, which might be a good or bad thing depending on how you feel, but I quite like it. And last but not least, this particular Toppo is front-wheel drive. However, they did sell all-wheel drive variants throughout the era at different trim levels. So how does it feel to drive the Toppo? I'll call it anything but BJ. I like it. I like it a lot. That turbocharged 4-cylinder is fantastic. It is so incredibly fun. It's so incredibly easy to drive as well. Everything is light, everything is porcelain, and it feels good. Visibility is wonderful because the windshield is so tall, and we'll talk about how that was kind of a stylistic thing towards the end of the 90s and into the 2000s. The ride quality is not good. That is probably the worst downside of the Toppo, is the ride quality. However, that's not really what this thing was striving for, so you can't knock on it too hard. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 gauges. Off to the left is my tachometer and speedometer, and off to the right is my fuel and coolant temperature. On the steering wheel, don't get anything. You just get a horn button, and that's it. And off to the right, you do have a climate control vent, fog light switch, and little cubby. Moving out of the door, we do have our latch to get in and out, and our power windows. Not always a given in K vehicles. They were supposed to be affordable. They were supposed to be lightweight. So power windows kind of negate both of those, but it has it here in the Toppo. And then moving into the center, we do get a pretty big cubby. Really like this, and you could actually option back in the day to have a little TV put in here. Love that. 2 climate vents with the hazard switch, an aftermarket radio, and the climate controls. It does have working AC on this 90-degree day here today in Chicago. And we do have pull-out cup holders. We'll do a big friggin' bottle test, but no one is shocked to learn that it fails. And we do have our cigarette lighter and ashtray, some storage space in front of the shifter, and then the shifter itself. The shifter is tall, very economy feeling, doesn't feel special, doesn't feel unique. However, it doesn't really have to. It has to do a job, and it does that job very well. Then we do get the parking brake, and that's it. A rather sparse interior, but that's the way we like it in our K cars. The seats are blue. There are a lot of blue accents throughout this car, and I really, really do like that. It does add a little bit of flair where otherwise it is kind of a gray and boring interior. But the seats are comfortable enough. I don't know if I'd want to cross the Mojave Desert in these seats. However, I don't think I'll be doing that anytime soon. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats. So let's go do a back seat review. All right, getting in the back of the Toppo BJ, and a couple of things to note. First of all, it's very easy to get in and out of. We'll talk about it later, but this sort of verticalness of this car is really nice. The seats are also still blue back here. Really, really like that. And something I failed to mention earlier is that this car actually has 3 sunglasses holders, essentially. This is a business card holder. This is your sunglasses holder, and then this is your other sunglasses holder. We do have a light as well, and we get these mesh nets up on the roof. So pretty smart about storage, but that's not the only storage. It also has storage, a little drawer under the passenger seat. So not quite as crazy as the Wagon R's picnic basket, but very cool. My knees are hitting the seat in front of me. It is a little bit squished this way. However, that kind of comes with the territory of it being a K car, is that, you know, it's not a Rolls Royce. It's not this giant land yacht vehicle, and so you kind of naturally get that. But the seats themselves have a little bit of cushion to them. We still get power windows, which again, in the back of a K car, not always a given. And I don't really get any other crazy amenities, but we can hop into the trunk and take a look from back there. So something kind of interesting about the back of the Toppo BJ is that it doesn't have a tailgate that goes up. It has a traditional door that actually swings out. So very, very unique to see that. Not always found, you know, most of them are actual hatches. This has a side opening door. Once we are back here, we can lower the second row seats. There's a little handle here. However, it does leave quite the little cliff to go up on. It's not quite a flat loading floor, but you get some type of space. Love to see that. Also over here, we do get a 12-volt outlet in the trunk. Very, very nice to see that. That's something that I hope for on modern cars. This was doing it 26 years ago. You also do get these little corner windows. Love to see that. And you could really tell the boxy design from back here. But again, the coolest thing to me is this swinging door. Now we gotta talk about the looks. And first of all, I do love the look of the Toppo BJ. I love the rear spoiler. That was an optional rear spoiler back in '99, which is so fun. This car was meant to be fun and a family vehicle, and I think they hit that nail on the head. But like I mentioned with the windshield, this is the beginning of the era where K cars started to get very interesting proportions. Late 80s, early 90s K cars, they had the same proportions as a regular car. They were just kind of shrunken down. Towards the end of the 90s and into the 2000s, we started to see vehicles like this or the Suzuki Wagon R. The Suzuki Wagon R was kind of a pioneer with this style, where the windshield started to get taller and the whole car got taller. It sort of skewed the proportions upward. So it has a lot more interior space. Sitting in here, I feel as though I'm in a normal sized vehicle. I'm a lot less claustrophobic than I would have been in the late 80s, early 90s K cars, and it just allowed for more space. And so you see that. You see the windows of this car are actually very tall. Up above the belt line, they call it, sort of the top of where the door starts to meet the window. From that upward, it's a lot taller and a lot bigger, which makes it, in turn, a lot more usable. So that's why I say this was kind of starting the modern era of K vehicle, because K cars are still built like this. They're sort of skewed upward, and I really, really like that. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a 1999 Mitsubishi Toppo BJ? Well, first of all, I do want to say BJ stands for Big Joy and nothing else. That is what Mitsubishi designated it. Big Joy. Please don't come after me, YouTube. I promise you I wasn't the one who named it. And I have to say, quite frankly, they hit the nail on the head, because this vehicle brings me a big amount of joy. Its turbocharged 4-cylinder is absolutely wonderful to drive and makes this car so much more fun than even the Suzuki Wagon R, than other 3-cylinder K cars. Think about it like a birthday party. I would much rather have 4 of my friends there than only 3. That is what makes this driving experience so lovely. The manual transmission is fun. And honestly, at the end of the day, the proportions, the style, the way that this vehicle is built is just so joyful. And it's interesting because in the 90s, Japan was going through kind of an economic bubble. And so even though they were going through that hardship, their vehicles were so joyous. They didn't let the economy get cars down. This is silly. Why does it have a wing? Are you going to put this on a racetrack? God, no. But it has a silly little wing. It has fun wheels. These were optional wheels at the time. It has a turbocharged 4-cylinder, a manual transmission. You can chuck it into a corner and you could park it in a pantry. That's what makes these cars so great. And I think the Toppo BJ is one of the best to do it because of that 4-cylinder. Really, truly, that 4-cylinder does make all the difference. And so that is why I love this vehicle so much. It is awesome. It is fun to drive. And huge thank you to Matt for letting me borrow his Toppo BJ for today's video. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.